just gonna let it go. If I still lived in MS 8075, I would be, and still a mom in the school district, I would be telling everyone and their grandfather not to vote for Sergeant Schofield. And I get to say that because I'm here, because he's bothered to say some ugly things in defending himself and his actions. And that's not the person you want to go to for help next time. Officer Carlton, I will say, was fantastic with us when he came down to the school. He thought outside of the box. Here's a scenario. I'm following the rules that I have set in place. I can only do so much in this situation, but what can we do? How do we connect the ex-wife with Rob's family in a cohesive way to make a conversation happen, to check on him, to create some kind of way of taking care of Colby and making sure his dad doesn't get mad at him. But also me being able to say some uncomfortable things that I know won't be appreciated, like there are guns in the house. He's all of a sudden gone and gotten a bunch of them, which nobody's really aware of. To me, that's a big old neon flashing sign saying, we've got a problem here. Carlton helped come up with creative ideas and reasonable ones at finding solutions immediately, and he worked on those and he communicated back to me. Ryan Card was immediately involved, as was Nikki, and while they may not have, taken this information from me, Rob's ex-wife, without certain feelings from our past and our relationship, they took it seriously irregardless because of Colby. Since then, they've allowed me to be a part of their family again so that we all can take care of Colby and one another and try to make sure that we have an answer, that there's an answer for the next person who comes and asks for help. There's only so much you can do in that scenario is an unacceptable answer. That's it. That's not okay. And none of our leadership should be stating that that's enough. None of us did enough. What we could do, I'm not exactly sure, but that's why we're here talking about it and working on it. Why we're here publicly in part is, I think we all would have gotten to this in our own time. But for me, it was very hard listening to some of the testimonies and imagining that that was all the information that was going to be portrayed to some of these families and the victims and stuff. That's not fair. Also, it just made me absolutely furious. It's like watching your teenager get into trouble. For example, when they're 16, 17 years old and they're at a house party. We can call this a hypothetical scenario, but Officer Schofield spent more time getting a bunch of local kids in trouble for underage drinking and partying the winter before this occurred, then he did try and make contact with Rob. Rob's superiors were notified May 3rd by Officer Carlton that there was a concern for his mental well-being, to the point where there was a report being created, and that they were going to include on that report that this person was known to be armed and that he should be approached with caution. So where was that the entire time? Why was that never talked about between Reamer and Moat and all of them who are bragging about their other jobs, their real civilian jobs, which is in law enforcement and this, that, and the other? Okay, so between all of you and your combined years of experience protecting, serving in multiple capacities, what's your excuse? What's the excuse for this to get passed through that many of you? And yet you're allowed to stand there and say how terrified you were for you and your family. I bet you were. You know where we were that night? We were left outside the Topsom Police Department in the parking lot by ourselves. With our dogs and confirmation that between home and town, between calling 911 to say, you need to find this person right now. You need to find him now. By the time we got up to town, realizing there's the picture of his car and that's it. And walking into that police department, hearing sirens going through the intersection everywhere. We were told if, we didn't feel comfortable going home, don't. And then we were left outside by ourselves. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know who to say it to. We didn't know if we were just putting too much importance on our own relationships with him by thinking we shouldn't be home. Rob had been to our place once before this had happened to pick up Colby's motorcycle with him. But all we knew to do was to just accept love and support from the friends and people that love us and were there for us in that moment, who put us somewhere safe and quiet with no time limit, with dog food and groceries, as we sat for the next 2 days, kind of expecting for somebody to tell us what we're supposed to be doing. They didn't. And that's after calling state police, sheriff's departments, all of this, asking what should we be doing? How can we help? Surely we have some information that might be worth somebody asking.
I hate to interrupt, but it's noontime and some people have to leave and I really feel badly about interrupting you. You're doing such a good job.
You're all right. If you have questions or you want to do that, that's fine.
No, I want to break for lunch and some people will leave and I'd like to have you back.
Okay.
And you don't have to call me Your Honor. You can call me Dan. Okay. I just want to say, while everybody's here, that I've been involved in monitoring Maine's mental health system for many, many years. I've never heard a better question is there an appropriate place to go with inappropriate questions? That sums it up as to access to services in my judgment. So your advocacy is strong. So if it's all right with everyone, we'll take a break now for lunch.
You guys can stay through the lunch hour.
And I understand that Katie Card, you wish to speak briefly afterwards.
Yep, just briefly.
That would,
answer
well,
any
you doesn't
questions.
have to be briefly. I just want to make sure you're gonna stick around for lunch and come back. And Kara,
Yep, absolutely.
you'll be here.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. The interpreter's needed also, so. We'll come back in